one's really good for going through windows, or is it just who's here today that can fit the costume and
Well,
do
it's not always
like
who's
the
here.
utility player essentially?
It's not always who's here, because all of a sudden, if you have high falls, there's not that many guys out there that can do high falls. Lee's one of them. If you got driving to do, maybe some of them were born and raised in New York and don't even have driver's license.
Yeah, right.
I want to also throw it to the audience. If anyone has a question, feel free to just pop up a hand and we'll pause the conversation, throw to you guys. But is there anything that you think is a misunderstood thing tied to stunt work in the grand scheme of things?
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of people think that we try to take as much of the danger out of it as we can, because they don't just pay you to do stunt work, they pay you also to be able to get up and do it a second time. If something happens, you got to do it a second and a third time. So when you see someone falling down a flight of stairs, they're usually wearing elbow pads, knee pads. Now, when I did the show, People Under the Stairs, I think I had 6 stair falls in here. I tried to make them all different. One guy would go backwards, one sideways. The worst one was the girl. She had to fall down with no elbow pads or no knee pads. Women have it tough in the stunt industry because so often they can't hide their pads like the guys can.
What's the what's considered like a lot of takes for a specific stunt?
2. 2's a lot.
2's a lot, yeah. There's a few that I didn't have number 2 in me.
Now on, say, Ghostbusters, I had 3 takes on that. The first take was, they told me I didn't need to wear a fire suit inside Stay Puft, so I said, no, I feel better wearing it. The first take on that, the head split open and the inside of the head caught on fire. So we had to do it over again the next day, and they only had 3 outfits. The next day we did the fire burn. After they looked at the footage, the fire was too big. It made Stay Puft look small. So we had to do it a third day where we brought the fire down to a smaller size so he would look that big on the screen. And then Rambo First Blood was another one. I had 2 takes on that. They put me in this cane field on fire, and they said, we can't get the cane to burn, so don't worry about it. Well, the day before they were shooting in elephant grass, and the Americans didn't know the difference between elephant grass and sugar cane. So when they lit me on fire, the whole field took off and burned up, and all I could hear is my safety saying, we can't get to him, we can't get to him. Well, I had already planned if I had to, I just rolled over and over till I got out of the field, and they put me out. So and I was spent another 2 weeks in Acapulco while they pulled up all the burnt stubs and put other stubs in the ground to shoot it over again a second time. The second time they watered the whole field down so it wouldn't catch on fire.
How were you feeling when you got that 3rd phone call that they were going to set you on fire again to Stay Puft?
I was on the set, they looked at the footage and said, the fire flames are too big, But none of them were my fault, so they had to pay me all 3 times to do it. If I would have screwed up and say didn't climb the building right or whatever, that would have been on me. How they stunt people get paid is according to how difficult and how dangerous the stunt is. As stunt coordinator, you look at it and you say, well, this girl's got to fall down a fire escape, so she would get more than a stunt guy that had to fall down a set of stairs that had carpeted all the way down.
Let's say someone in the audience is thinking, I want to get into the stunt work. What advice would either of you have for that?
Stunt bad. Stunt bad. So.
Get into computers.
Yeah. AI programming is really good.
I mean, when we first started, I tell everybody, when we first started, if you had a person climbing a waterfall, you would use piano wires and try to hide him going up a waterfall. So in case he fell, he had a safety measure. Nowadays, you can put a big purple rope on him and just go and tell the computer afterwards to take out all the purple, and it's not there. So it makes it a lot easier to hide safety stuff in there.
Yeah, it's a lot more practical.
Yeah. But still, AI is, they were shooting, when I got out of the business, starting to shoot stunt guys, falling down a flight of stairs with 200 ping pong balls all over their body. Well, we found out later that's so a computer can go in and take that person out and put any person they want to.
Yeah,
That's
the beginning of motion capture.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I always think of the infamous Texas Chainsaw Massacre story in 1974. Gunnar Hansen said he was reading the script and he read that on the last page he falls and the chainsaw is supposed to cut his leg off, and he asked Toby, how are we going to do that? And he said, don't worry about it, that's one of the last things we're going to film. And he says in the commentary track, what I thought he meant was we had plenty of time to figure this out. What he actually meant was if we accidentally cut your leg off, I've shot the movie. And we can still put it out.
I did Texas Chainsaw, the one with Jessica Biel on it.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting one because all the chainsaws just had a rubber piece running around them with all the smoke and stuff like that. And it was the worst part is I had to watch all the Texas Chainsaws up to there before we did that one. But Jessica Biel was doing the good girl on television. She wanted to change her image, so she signed to do Texas Chainsaw. I don't know which one. And she was nice and very pleasant to work with.
Do we have any questions out in the crowd?
Yeah, let's go outside. Yeah, what do we got?
What made you start getting into doing stunt work? Like, why did you want to get into that?
Bad decisions. Let's see. So when I came out of high school, which I studied film, right? It was either military or make movies, do stunts, and act, right? And bottom line is, film business paid better than military business. Both were going to give me adrenaline, but I just chose film instead.
How about you, Anthony?
I ended up moving to California to become an electrician in San Diego. They were on a strike, so I moved up to Los Angeles. I knew you could always find work up there. So I had a job tending bar, and the guys that I knew that were tending bar with me were working out at a gym down in Santa Monica with a bunch of stunt people. So I started working out at that gym with the stunt people, and after learning how to do fights and falls and I got a break. I was on Beretta for a while with Robert Blake, old TV series, and then I went out on my own and started doing stunts, and it starts just by a little bit of stunts here and there. The problem you have in Hollywood is you're competing with a lot of sons and daughters of people that have been in the business for 20 years. So it's hard to break into it in Hollywood. And with me, I looked at, after a couple of years of doing stunts, I looked out and said, all the actors that I wanted to double are tall and slim. I can't double those. So that's when I started to try to get into stunt coordinating, which is like, say, reading the script and breaking it down and trying to figure out who you're going to bring in to do certain stunts. I had no intentions. I was not a great athlete in school. Matter of fact, I was just barely getting through school.
Okay, bad decision.
Yeah.
I saw a question over here.
So prior to CGI and AI, back when stunts were just practical, was there ever one that you came across that you felt was an impossible stunt that you pulled off, or so impossible that you gave up?
Question is there an impossible stunt that you still somehow pulled off?
No, we followed through with everything. I think the one stunt I was developing for a TV show for World's Record was we're going to recreate a tunnel of fire. And the tunnel of fire stuff, it chewed up a couple of guys. I mean, legitimately burned these boys up. And so Tony and I, since we had so much experience in fire, and we knew thermodynamics and the science of fire, we figured out how to do that a lot safer. So if I actually did this attempt, I think we were going to do like 100 yards, which sounds, that's a poke. You got to be running, right? But then you got to figure, okay, if I'm running, you don't want to do that. You can't hold your breath and run for 100 yards. Good luck, right? So there's all these variables. I think that's the one that we never got off the ground that I really wanted to do.
How about you, Anthony? Was there any impossible stunt that you either did or didn't figure out how to pull off?
It wasn't impossible, but I'm sorry I took the job, and when I took the job, I was getting ready to bail out on the job because I was standing on top of a, 40-story building down in Los Angeles. They had me standing on the edge, and they had cables that were just 3 feet long, and I was supposed to jump off the edge and go down, and I'd only go down 3 feet, and the cables would hold me. Well, I don't like heights that much, and I soundly think I'm thinking the cables are strong and all of that, and just whenever they finally the insurance company came up and said, we're not going to allow that stunt. We don't want anyone standing on the edge of the building. And I was glad. That's the last time I ever took a high jump.
I had a question, it just disappeared. Is there any other questions out there? Oh, right over there.
Have you ever encountered a particular, it doesn't have to be any particular, but just like an actor that said, like, I really want to do this stuff myself? Or was your approach to that more like, no, we need you tomorrow, or like, have at it, Hoss, let's see how you do?
All right, so the question is, have you ever worked with Tom Cruise?
So I'm a big proponent of putting the actor in front of the camera in stunts as much as you can within reason, right? Tom gets away with it because he makes a better product, right? He also gets away with it because he's the producer of the film, right? If he was, that's the only reason, because he's the producer, right? Otherwise he couldn't do that. Insurance wouldn't sign off. So I love putting actors in front of camera within the construct of the stunt. If you're gonna, like, there's no reason they need to roll a car. There's no reason they need to get burned up. There's none of that. But a lot of, I think, good physical acting, fighting and stuff like that, yeah, put that actor in there as much as you can. And some of them, you know, back in the day, all wanted to do their stunts, right? I mean, Tony and I were good friends with Chuck Norris and his double King Gibson. And Chuck to this day will go, yeah, I did all my stuff. Like, shut up, Chuck. Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of it within reason. But, you know, what that reason is that's your call, and the call of the director and the producers and insurance and even the actor, right?
Most of the time, the stunt person can make it look more realistic than the actor. You know, it's just like throwing punches and that. The actors aren't trained to know how to throw punches from what angle the camera's at and something like that. And a stunt guy knows if you turn him this way, you throw this punch. If you throw him that way, you throw that punch. And they can make it look a lot more realistic. A lot of actors have egos and don't want people to do it. You know, a lot of them say, like, you can't double me, I'm tall and skinny. And I say, well, Dick Durock on Swamp Thing was 6'6", and nobody, when I was on fire, and I wasn't 6'6". I tell them on Terminator, I said, well, back then Arnold and I were about the same size.
Especially because you look back at, like, through the history of film in the silent era, those actors were, I mean, Buster Keaton.
Oh, Buster Keaton did all of his own stuff.
Yeah.
Still amazing to see stuff like that. But you think if you were a producer and you were putting up all of your money on something, how much would you let an actor do? Would you let him run across the street and almost get hit by a car? Or would you rather, because you're not seeing his face, or would you rather have somebody else? I mean, it goes back to Wild Wild West when Robert Conrad did a swing on a chandelier across the bar. The chandelier broke and came down and broke his ankle. Everybody there that was on contract stayed on contract till he got well, and they had to go back and finish the shot. So that's what can happen if you let an actor do too much.
So, you know, when you're doing stunt work, you're taking on, like we said, projects big and small. Is there any film that maybe some people here have never heard of because it's a very small film that you have a stunt that you wish more people actually could see because it's maybe not the most mainstream of titles?
Yeah, what was that one you lit me on fire and threw me off the roof? That one.
I don't remember the.
Somebody go on Google and go on Google and look up human combustion or internal combustion or something like that. I think they might have changed their name. We were just talking about this the other day when Tony and I got together. There's 2 or 3 films out there that we actually did with Clint, right?
Yeah.
Howard, who's here, right? And I remember one, and there's another one that has this title change. I can't remember what that was or what I did.
You're describing jumping off a roof on fire, and if it's one of the Clint Howard ones, I'm almost wondering if it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 4, where there's definitely a flaming body that goes flying off of a roof to the pavement.
That could be because we did work that show with him.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, could be.
I've got one where I did my head on fire, and all I was told is 2 kids are fighting at a gas station. One of them pulls a pump off of it, lights a lighter to it, and sticks it to the other kid's face and catches his face on fire. I've got stills of it, but I have no idea what show that is.
Now I wish I knew because I want to see that.
Yeah.
Any other questions out in the crowd?
Stuff.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh,
What do you got?
Are there any stunts you guys ever performed that maybe as you performed them, you're like, okay, we've got this done, and then when you see it actually on screen, you're like, that looked way better on like post than you felt when you did it?
has there ever been a stunt that came out looking even better than you thought in the
I really
movie?
like the dinosaur stuff. The stuff in Jurassic 2 when I got eaten by the dinosaur looked pretty damn cool. That was a good one. Yeah.
With me, I think it was the stair fall on Elm Street. I had no idea how well it filmed seeing me roll down sideways. It's actually on YouTube. If you go to the greatest stunts ever, reel 2, it's got that stair fall of me coming down the stairs on fire, which I didn't think was going to come out as well as it came out.
That's because the fire was so big because of the setup, man.
You were talking about the science of fire, when you were talking about the fire tunnel, do you feel like there is a little bit of, not even a little bit, do you feel like if you're doing stunt stuff, especially the coordination part, that you need that science mind as well in there to know, okay, this is how this very unpredictable thing will probably act?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's fire science, but then there's also physics, and you know, and doing the stuff that we've done over the decades. You know, we're flying guys hundreds of feet on 3 different axes of movement now. You know, we got to know the weights and the times, and it's all computer driven, and so the science behind stunts is immense. You know, back in the day, these guys would cowboy up and just jump stuff because they just knew how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You have that sixth sense. You jump things enough where you're like, okay, I know I'm going to hit this about 40 miles an hour, and I should land about there. And they would go out and, man, you can put a dollar bill down. That's what the guys would do that all the time. And we put dollar bills down and bet on where they hit.
Where the car was gonna land from the jump.
Yeah, all the time. So, yeah, the science behind stunts is immense.
Well, it's just like fire. One guy wanted me to change the color of fire on some shows, and I said, well, you know, you change the color on fire, you're also changing the temperature what the fire is. So, you know, and I mix up my own fuel and make it an orangish color so it shows up better. And that was another thing that I did during my fire burns nobody else did.
Yep.